Please welcome Mariah Chase, Chief Executive Officer, ELOQUII.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you, WWD, for inviting me to join today. So I thought I'd first tell you all who ELOQUII is, because we might not be as well known as L'Oreal quite yet. Although maybe we are French, ELOQUII, just like L'Oreal. No, actually, half of our company is based in Columbus, Ohio, and half is here. So we're not French. So ELOQUII is a digitally native, remember that, digitally native, direct-to-consumer brand, fast fashion apparel for women sizes 14 to 28. We have a kind of interesting history. We were actually started and operated by The Limited in late 2011 to be a sister brand to The Limited, to address customers who had lapsed out of The Limited's core size offering. So that was late 2011. Fast forward 18 months, The Limited shuts ELOQUII down in early 2013. And what happened after that was a digitally driven, social media born outcry from the customers saying, hey, wait a second, Limited, we have so few options to begin with. You've just taken away our favorite one. Mistake. So out of that digitally driven customer demand and customer outcry, we came back. And I'm here to say that we are officially the new kids on the block. Our digital flagship, ELOQUII.com, launched in February of 2014. And if you had asked us at that point in time, 3 years ago, are you going to open stores? Is physical commerce, offline commerce, going to be a part of your strategy? I think the answer you would have gotten was unlikely, probably not. In fact, we had, when I was talking to investors at that time, they would say, so stores aren't going to be a part of your plan, right? Sort of shaking their heads. To which I would respond, oh no, don't worry. We're a digital business. We're a totally digital brand. We came back because of digital customer feedback. So I'm here today, eating my words, standing in front of you to say that we just under a month ago opened our very first store at Fashion Center of Pentagon City, just outside of DC, which is our second largest digital market. We have just under 2,300 square feet of selling space, and we love every inch of it, and we plan to have more. So what happened? We went from unlikely to yes, yes and more. Well, at ELOQUII, we live by 6 Fs, which are we're fashion first, we're feedback focused, and we're fast and flexible. And right out of the gate, we heard customers saying to us, when are you guys opening stores? What is your store going to look like? Are you going to have a store by me? Is it going to be open 24 hours a day, just like your website? And it kind of hit home for me about a year into the business. I was reading comments on Instagram, and there was a comment by a customer, or someone who had decided not yet to be a customer. And it said in all caps, ELOQUII, when are you opening a store in Tulsa? Question mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point, and on and on and on. And I thought, okay, proverbially speaking, Houston, we have a problem. If we say we're a feedback-focused business and brand, and she is asking us for stores, we cannot just talk the talk, we've got to walk the walk. And it, in hindsight, of course, fit with our thesis on this market, which is that this customer has been given poor merchandise and a poor experience. So here we were giving her good merchandise and a good online experience, and we needed to understand what were the value propositions unique to offline that she wanted to experience with our brand. What did she want in a store from ELOQUII? Why was offline still important to her when all of the news has been digitally native, digitally direct is the way to go? So our job became, and remains, to connect and differentiate online and offline commerce in a way, in an experience, such that she both needs and wants both from us, both online and offline. Right? Easy, no problem. But I think the learning here for us is that customers care about both channels, but what are the unique value propositions that you're drawing out and highlighting that are relevant to your customer, your market, your vertical, that are significant and incremental. So we opened our store on March 1st, right? If we had had magical elves, we would have opened it sooner. You know, we would have opened it as soon as we possibly could. But if we're thinking about the broader landscape, as Jim and Paul alluded to when they were giving their opening remarks, it doesn't exactly seem to be a great time to be bullish on stores, right? You have these legacy multi-brand retailers just in 2017 announcing hundreds of store closings. And oftentimes WWD, most of the time WWD breaks the news. You have these legacy brands in 2017, many of whom have filed for bankruptcy, who as a result of that bankruptcy are closing their stores. So we actually think this is the perfect time to be opening stores. We think it is an opportunity to be opportunistic. When things fall apart, there is an opportunity to rebuild and build anew, and it's our responsibility collectively to take a fresh perspective on stores, i.e. that they can no longer be thought of as the lead channel, as channel number one. They are the experiential portion of a customer's journey. And the onus, again, is on us to draw out the value propositions that are unique to stores. So I would agree with, I'm going to botch your name, Jean-Marc, Marc-Louis, I'm sorry, I don't remember, the eloquent man from L'Oreal, Chief Retail Officer, that omnichannel is kind of this word that we're all like, oh God, are we still talking about omnichannel, right? And we know that omnichannel makes good customers better. Why? Why is that? So we like to bucket it into two sort of schools of thought. Number one are her preferences, right? So we know that over half of online shoppers would prefer to buy from brands and retailers that have a physical store presence over being an online-only retailer. We also know that nearly 2/3 of customers have made purchases in the last 6 months that involve multiple channels. And by 2/3, I'm actually going to say probably 100%, right? For this audience, probably 100%. So that means that she trusts businesses that have both online and offline components, maybe? Or maybe it's just more efficient. It's easier for her to be able to shop when she wants, how she wants, where she wants. Maybe it's a little bit of both, right? But they have unique value propositions, and potentially it is relevant for your brand or your vertical or your customer base to have them in equal weight, but having them together is her preference. The data bears that out. Number two, the dollars. So we know that over 20% of customers will spend more in a store. Overall, their overall basket size will be bigger if they're digitally influenced. And then my favorite statistic, which is that over 70% of customers expect and believe that they will get a better deal online versus in-store, i.e. they expect they'll spend more per item in-store. So the conversations that I have now with investors, and these are venture capitalists, growth equity, private equity investors, the question is no longer, stores aren't a part of your strategy, right? It's, so stores are a part of your growth strategy, right? Why, yes, they are. Great. And why is that? It's because if customers' baskets are bigger and they're actually spending more per item in store, and we know that return rates are lower in store, then you have more profitable unit economics, transactional economics, which means that stores, when they're done right, which is like the alchemy that we'll always be solving for, actually have the opportunity to deliver incremental margin to your bottom line. So the hard part. What does she want? What does everyone want? We all want more. I'm going to mention a few things that we're particularly focused on at ELOQUII in terms of highlighting the unique value proposition of offline commerce, specifically for our market. So if we diligence, walk into stores, which we do often, that serve this customer, you know, they're not cute. They're crowded, they're a little bit dark, they're they're giving her a suboptimal experience. So we think, as sort of straightforward as it sounds, the actual design, layout, space, visuals of the store are really important. And what we did in our first store was we took fixtures out. We added extra lighting. We added 2 seating areas. We added Wi-Fi. We made the dressing rooms bigger. And part of that is because while we do think of a store as a conversion funnel, right? It's its own version of a conversion funnel. We also want it to be a place of community. We want her to know and think that when she's hosting book club, she can do it at the ELOQUII store. We'll provide the cupcakes. That it is not just a place where she goes to have a transaction. It is a place where she can come and hang out and feel like it's a second living room. I don't know if we'll let her put her feet up, but you sort of get the point. So that community and the thoughtful space and design and visuals was really, really important for us because it doesn't exist in this market for her. Number 2, when we were doing focus groups about what she wanted, she was, we love her for this, extremely vocal. And she said, get your customer service right. Like, don't mess around with customer service. So we said, okay. And why don't you help us with this? So we actually had, we posted on Instagram and said, we're going to be in DC for the day. We need help. Please tell us who we should be hiring. Do you know people with experience? Meet us here at this location this time. And the turnout was unexpected and incredible. It was dozens and dozens and dozens and et cetera, of customers who showed up. And so our store in DC is staffed entirely by customers. 2 of them are stylists, 2 of them are bloggers, all of them have retail experience. And this is our dream come true because we are nothing if not a platform that connects customers to each other around a shared love and discovery of fashion. And what we did from a tactical and financial perspective is because we had heard so loudly from our customers about how important customer service is we actually took sort of the baseline industry average of what you spend on store labor and we took it up a couple of notches because we believe this is going to have to pay for itself in the future. And then lastly, bearing the lead here, but technology. Technology, technology, technology. Technology is what is going to allow all of us to efficiently, economically, and intelligently power an offline commerce experience. And here we bucket it again into 2 different groups. One is implicit technology and the other is explicit. Implicit technology is where we believe the majority of our focus, testing, resources, and dollars should be going at this point in time. Implicit technology is the technology that she doesn't notice. It just makes her life and her shopping experience easier and better, right? It's when the store associate knows her name when she walks in or knows that she does not want to be addressed when she walks in. It's when her items are already in the dressing room. She didn't have to do anything. It's when she can walk out of the store and her credit card is charged automatically. She doesn't have to check out. It's just making it easier for her. Explicit technology is the technology that she has to engage to derive the benefits thereof. And we, as we were thinking about stores, we, both the Columbus team and the New York team, did tours of as many stores as we could. And I have to say to L'Oreal that NYX, Knix, it's like fan favorite across the board for all of us. We all love it, so congrats on that. But what we noticed and what was a lesson and a learning for us was that oftentimes there was some really interesting explicit technology that was being tested, and it was maybe 5, 7, 10 years down the road, maybe 2 years down the road, very thoughtful. However, the store associates, when we would ask them about it, well, either it would just be broken, right, which is a hazard of technology, or they wouldn't know how to use it. Or I had 2 store associates say to me in 2 different stores, yeah, I don't like it. I don't take customers there. So it was a lesson to me that if you're going to have explicit technology, or implicit, but specifically explicit, because you actually have to have a store associate draw the customer to the technology and teach them how to use it, your store associates have to be obsessed and love the technology that you're putting into the stores because they are the adopters. They are the teachers and the educators. So speaking of technology, I don't know if you guys remember high school. There was that friend who had the cool parents. You could always go party at that parent's house. It was like the party house. So I currently feel like my email inbox is that house, right? For any and all third-party technology service providers, you are apparently invited to my email inbox. And I have to say, it's very, very noisy. I am getting emails, multiple emails on a daily basis, and I love technology. Like, it's just slightly overwhelming. I'm having a little bit of analysis paralysis. I'm getting emails from third-party technology service providers about geolocation and targeting, mobile wallets, home delivery, try-on, digital concierge, personalization, 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 smart dressing rooms, inventory and replenishment, and many, many combinations thereof. And as someone and as a team who is starting our offline commerce journey, we know that it is going to be technology first, because technology is going to power experience and power community. But what is the technology that we need to be adopting and when? And so we think about it in three groups. One, technology that might not be around for too long, so it's our job to know who that might be. Two, technology that is going to become highly relevant and sector specific for a market, for a vertical, for a customer, and that will be incremental, i.e. like smart dressing rooms. And then the third, which is I think really the most interesting and opportune for us right now, is what is the offline technology, and a lot of it will be connected to online, that is absolutely baseline and fundamental. We will all need to have it and employ it, or else offline commerce will not be profitable, and we will not get consumer adoption the way that we should. And if I were a betting woman, which I am, I would say that probably the two implicit technologies that we're going to be going hard after are mobile wallet and also inventory and replenishment technology. Thank you, Amazon, for leading the way there. So in summary, we believe that stores and offline commerce are in a phase of rebirth, and they will allow for an experience-first roadmap for this customer that is enabled and powered by technology. And if we all do our jobs right, to get the right experience for our customers, it will be justified by incremental and profitable economics. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for being here. So I have a question. I think that your story is a really beautiful and precise story with all it'll grow, right? But I think that a lot of the challenges, and I want your opinion on this, is the people that have the hundreds of stores, 50 stores, controlling their sales associates to not be more on their phone versus helping people in the store and controlling that very precise environment when people have now rolled out to so much square footage, so many stores to manage, international in countries you can't even control your inventory, your employees, things like that. And a lot of that is like, okay, how do you grow, or what do you put a cap on and say, we can be great at this number? Or do you say, okay, we'll have to make these changes past this number kind of thing?
Yeah, so if you have a lot of stores, is the question sort of, if you have a lot of stores, how do you make them efficient, and how do you know when to stop and when to pull back? You know, so I'm not in that position, and I never have been, so this is a, you know, take it straight from the hip. But I think if I were in that situation, I'd be looking at as much data as possible, and then making probably some really hard decisions about which stores are actually the most productive, and which ones really are going to die a slow death, and it's better to just cut your losses now and move on. And then, of course, I think the thing that's so much easier said than done, though, is investing in the technology that's going to make your productive stores even more productive, and is going to then create a feedback loop of data and intelligence to tell you where and when and how to improve, right? But I don't think that we know we're overstored, and I don't think that there's an easy easy answer there. The best solutions that I would have would be to be ruthless and then leverage data to make decisions and invest in technology. Okay, great.
Are there any more questions? Oh.
Hi. There seems to be a lot of activity in your market at the moment. Is it because it was so underserved and department stores have turned away from it, or finally the world's realized that, you know, a majority of women aren't size 2?
I think it's high time, and I think it's the latter, and I think it's digitally driven. So I think that whereas 5 to 10 years ago, this customer, more 10 years ago, this customer couldn't find community and virality and create the content that she wanted to see, she can now do that in 24 to 48 hours. She can find a community online. And I think that what we'll call the plus size renaissance or revolution sort of sits in an intersection with a socio-political movement of anti-bullying and feminism, right? That is also digitally driven. But when you see finally a brand like Nike, which for the first time last month announced that it was going to go into plus size, and for the first time ever, the March issue of Vogue had a plus size model on the cover, that is, I don't think without the digitally driven customer demand and almost, I think, rightful shaming, that would happen.
Hey, Mariah.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for a really thoughtful speech over here. You know me. I just wanted to ask about the decision to open vertically integrated brick and mortar versus considering a wholesale business and relying on other retailers.
I think control. We're control freaks, and I think that just specific for this, I wouldn't say that that's right for any other business. All I can speak for is ours, but when we think specifically about our customer and the experiences that she's had, it seemed like an incredible opportunity to be the leaders in giving her a fashion-first offline experience and not sort of relying on anyone else to do that and represent our brand. I would also say, specific to this market, there isn't a lot of multi-brand distribution. Right? There isn't a ton of opportunity when it comes to major department store plays.
Thank you so much. That's all the time we have.